Welcome, everybody, to Epic Conversation. Oh my gosh, I didn't count again. It's in the teens. You might be like 14, maybe. I'm here with my friend, and well, our program is over, but we are in Creators Circle together, John Patrick Morgan's Creators Circle. So, Circle Sibling, I'm here with David. Thanks for joining me, David.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, so Dave, you are most of the people that I've had conversations with are coaches, and I'm really excited to talk to you about your inner work journey as someone who's just a regular old person, right?
Not a
Like not
coach,
a
yeah.
coach, right? You're not trying to coach other people. You're not doing this to, create a job for yourself.
Right.
You're just improving your life through introspection and so how about we start off by you telling us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Let's see. I'm Dave Gilbert, married to my wife, Joan Claire, for about 13 years, 13 and a half years now. We have three kids. Lucia is 12, Neil is 10, and Joshie is 4. We live in Anthem, Arizona, which is kind of it feels like a far northern suburb of Phoenix, but it's, I think, actually right outside the city limits because Phoenix is so gigantic.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. Currently, I'm a copywriter. I do B2B copywriting, just kind of writing marketing stuff for tech companies. That's sort of my day job of sorts. I was previously in law for about 10 years. Last 6 years or so of that, I was with a tech company, which then kind of conveniently imploded as I was about to be done with. I was just kind of done with it
Isn't it
anyway.
nice when that happens?
Yeah, but it worked out well anyway. And so um, since then, I've been doing copywriting. I did some Amazon FBA, kind of created my own products and sold them there. And my wife is a coach,
Mhm.
and it's sort of I feel like I'm almost part of the coaching world. A lot of my friends and contacts are coaches,
Yeah.
but it's just not something I'm kind of oriented to. Like I see the value of it, but not. I just don't have that pull. Like
Yeah, it's not
I
your
want to do
calling,
this. It's
right?
not me. It's not
Hmm.
me. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of a basic introduction, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm excited to talk about because most people that hire coaches are not coaches,
Yeah.
right? So I find a conversation with you so valuable for people that are thinking of hiring a coach.
Mm.
Um, so let's talk about how you got into inner work, right? Like where was the transition between, Dave doing Dave and then Dave being like, what's going on inside me that's making me
Yeah.
like me?
Yeah, sure. So that story is so I was practicing law for about 10 years, and I I had a pretty good life, right, in terms of family and just like income and stuff like that. But in a way, I wasn't even aware of it. Like I didn't really appreciate what I had. I mean, I wasn't like super bitter or anything. I seemed like a nice enough guy, but I had kind of a way of being that was very complainy. Like I was focused on what I didn't like about this or that, especially in terms of my professional work. Like I didn't like what the company was doing there. I didn't like this. I didn't like that. Um, and so the last few years I was practicing law, I was kind of done with it. Like I had kind of checked out professionally. Like previously I had, I'd go to all the conferences and go to lawyer networking things and read the journals and like try to be up to date on everything. And I just last 2 years, I just kind of like lost interest. Like I'm not doing this. Like I still did good work for
Yeah.
the company. Like I did the best I could, but I
Yeah.
was just like, this is not what I want to be doing. Like I do not want to go further. I do not want my boss's job. I do not want to work at a bigger company. I just none of that interested me. So I was just like, and my way of being was sort of like, leave me alone a little, a little bit, because
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
an attorney, you're hit with like just demands from like just hey, I need to review this contract. We got to get this thing done. Like people are coming at you all
Yeah.
the time. That's
Yeah.
it's kind of your job. So it's not really useful to have the idea like leave me alone. But part of the frustration I had when I was practicing law was like I don't really want to be I don't want to be executing other people's ideas, right? Like as a lawyer in a company, you're kind of a functionary of just like you're getting stuff done that other people have decided to do. And your
Yeah.
work is important, but you're not really deciding like, actually, I don't think that product is a great idea. I don't think this deal is good. It's just like get it done. And that's, and that's fine. That is what a lawyer is. They provide valuable service. They do important work. But I didn't really identify with it. Like I was good at it and I was well respected, but I was like, this isn't me. This is something I can do.
Yeah.
Like the same way, like, I painted houses in college. It's like, it's something I can do. Like I'm good
Yeah.
at
It's a
it. I
skill.
don't want to be a painter. It's like, it's a skilled thing I can do to make money. Anyway, so the last couple of years I was practicing law. I was like, I want to do my own thing. I don't want to have a boss. I don't want to go to the office. I just want to, so I was looking at different, make money from home type stuff or more
Yeah.
entrepreneurial things. And I heard about Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, which is where you import and then sell products directly on Amazon, or you make and design your own products and do it on Amazon. And I think in the entrepreneurial world, or people like in the space of like people who don't like their jobs and want to make money doing something else,
Yeah.
there's always like the next, like the new hot thing. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
drop shipping, or then it was Amazon FBA, then it's crypto or whatever. There's
Whatever.
always something. And I got into Amazon FBA at the time. I got in it early enough that I was able to have some success. But my idea was like, I want to do my own thing. I want to be at home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have a boss and like have to do
Mm-hmm.
other people's stuff. But it wasn't like
Freedom. Yeah.
this is what I want to do with my life. It was just like, here I can make money and like not have to commute an hour. Like,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the extent of it. My thinking. And so I started doing that, started reading more I would say business or entrepreneurial type literature. And I don't even remember who the authors were, just maybe even like ebooks people would use as
Mm-hmm.
their like lead magnet for their funnels. But I remember the first book I read was by a couple guys. They were called Startup Bros out of Orlando. And they kind of taught Amazon. They had like a little Amazon FBA course, which I took and actually got a lot of value out of. But they had an ebook, and it was something about being an entrepreneur. And
Yeah.
I remember a big part of it had to do with like gratitude.
Uh-huh.
And I was just like, okay, like
Why?
yeah,
Yeah.
it was just like I don't like, I wasn't looking to do any inner work. I wasn't looking to do personal change. I wasn't looking to like improve anything about myself. I was fine. I just want to make money and not have a
Right.
boss telling me what to do. So I was just
You
like,
just want to arrange things out in the world
that's
to get
right.
what you want.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't need to
Yeah.
change. I don't want to change. I didn't see the need for change. It's just like I want to make money. Tell me what to do. Don't tell me like talking about gratitude. That's just like kind of random. So I was like, whatever. Those dudes are into gratitude. That's great.
Right. Cool for
Yeah,
them.
just like whatever. That's their thing. It's kind of their whatever. And then the second resource I read, I think it was a book, and I don't remember who the author or authors were, but they also had like a section on gratitude. I was just like
Like why?
yeah. Well, it was sort of like
Yeah.
that's a weird coincidence. Like those other guys were into gratitude too. Like that's just kind of funny, interesting, cool. And then I wasn't just reading, but like eventually like the third thing I read, and I think it was a book again, and this author also emphasized gratitude and its importance in like the entrepreneurial journey. I was just like, okay, like hold on. You're like,
why is everybody saying this?
yeah, like what
Yeah.
am I missing here? And so, and related to, because I was coming to the space of like, tell me what to do. Tell me the things I need to do and not
The
do
steps.
to make money. Like, what are the steps?
Yeah.
And really quickly, you see people are talking about like not only gratitude, but like mindset in general.
Yeah.
Right. Because so much of business, especially when you're first starting, it's just like things don't work right away. You have setbacks, you have failures. Like, you do this and people don't read it. You put up these products, people don't buy it. So a lot of entrepreneurial journey is mindset. So it's like, oh, that's interesting. So I started reading more about it, and then that was sort of the start, and I kind of kept on reading as I was doing things, but it kind of opened up this whole world of like, maybe I don't know a lot about a lot,
Yeah,
so
it is a whole new world, right? It's a whole new world.
Yeah, and it wasn't, again, the funny thing is that I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't like, I need to change. Like, I need to really fix my life. I was just like, I want to make money. Like, what do I need to do? Like,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
but then it kind of opened up this whole world where it's like, oh wow, there's so much that I don't know about the world and myself, and that I want to
Mm.
become better at. So, or better at. I mean, it's better at. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of more happier or
Yeah,
happier.
it's like
More.
I think the two reasons to do coaching is to have a better experience of living,
Mm,
right? And then kind of like what you were doing before is to accomplish something that is for some reason out of your reach. Either
yeah.
you're not getting started for some reason or not being successful for some reason.
Yeah.
And so start with gratitude. That's the that's the lesson from this, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot, but it was something that really jumped out at me. Is like,
Yeah.
what's the like gratitude and like money? Like there was no apparent connection. Like gratitude, like that's a
Yeah.
nice thing, and people will put like gratitude
Be
stuff like
grateful.
on their
Yeah.
kitchen, as a little
Yeah.
plaque or something. But it's not like it doesn't really have any relationship. At least to me, had zero obvious relationship to like making money and success, and just it was just like random things. Like what? There's no connection here.
That's really cool that was, yeah, that's what pulled you in to, and that's what pulled you into your first inner work journey. And now I've been in a program that was a significant investment that was a year long that took you into relationships with lots of people,
Yeah.
right? In the group. And now I'm seeing you creating new relationships, at least online, right?
Yeah.
A whole
Yeah.
nother group of people just voluntarily,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, what has changed in you? Like, how long has it been, and what have you noticed has changed in you?
How long been since I started this
Since you
journey?
learned about gratitude for the first
Oh,
time. Yeah.
probably about 4 years ago,
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, gosh, I don't, part of the challenge, part of the part of the challenge is like seeing your own growth and change because you don't feel it. It's just kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
things naturally look different. So, um, sorry, what question am I responding to, Heather?
Yeah. So
What?
you said at the beginning that you felt like you were kind of negative, right? Kind
Oh
of
yeah, yeah,
leave me
definitely,
alone, right? Like
definitely,
who were you
definitely.
being? We could say it in being terms. Who were you
Yeah,
being before?
yeah.
And how are you being differently now?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, before I was, I mean, I wasn't like super incredibly negative,
Yeah.
but I do think that was my orientation more than not. I mean, even the things that were great in my life, I think it's just like, yeah, that's normal. Like that's the way they're
Right.
supposed to be. I wouldn't be like, that's awesome. I'd be like, yeah, that's like, really good is actually sort of like the flat line. And then I'm just noticing and focusing on like what's below what I judge as okay. Like that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a problem, that's a
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, gratitude, I think for me in particular, I mean, that's what got me started, but it has been a big part of, a big part of my journey, and I think changed as well. I remember, so even after I saw the importance of gratitude, I wasn't really like, I was just like, oh, that's interesting. But like when I started focusing, like actually focusing on gratitude, I, did like a gratitude journal or
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
like that. And I was like writing down 3 things I'm grateful for every day. And it was like work because I
It
had
was a
to
chore.
think. I had to
Yeah.
like what went, like what is good now? Like it was kind of work. And then I encountered someone who he talked about something like like doing 10 or 20, like just doing a bunch
A
of
ton.
things.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, whoa, like that's just okay, like that's a lot of work. But I remember having this distinct moment where I was going for a walk in Portland, and because I had to get like 20 things I was grateful for.
20 things.
20
Oh my
things.
goodness.
And I remember seeing this like cool, unusual, fuzzy caterpillar like on the ground, and just like I
Uh-huh.
was like, that was kind of, I was like, oh, that's cool. I can write that down. Like I'm
Yeah,
thankful for that.
I'm
But it
grateful
was,
for that.
but it was just like I had to get to 20, and it was like hard work. Like now, if I had to write like 20, be like dun, 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 like because it's so obvious now. But the
Yeah.
shifting of that mindset to appreciating what I have and just so many things, like it took work where like I
Yes.
remember just like, yeah, those first three, like what three things happened today? Like it was like hard. And then 20 was
Yeah.
hard. And
When
now
you're
I think
not
it's
in
like
practice,
you're not in
right?
practice. So it's like now I
Yeah.
could just write and write and write and I could just like go
All day.
perpetually. I go all
Yeah.
day, like literally. Whereas like before, like 20 was like it's like
A
incredibly
mountain.
ridiculous
Yeah.
high level of things to find to be grateful for. So
I can't even
it's
imagine
ridiculous,
all of
but like
that
that's
now.
where I was. So
No, it's not ridiculous. It's exactly, um, you know, I love the journey of coaching. I
yeah.
love it in every single step. And I compare it to like a baby in utero, right? Like, are you any less pregnant like the day after conception than you
Mm,
are 2 weeks in for like, are any of those
mm,
days less important?
mm,
Absolutely not,
mm,
right? Every single day of development is incredibly essential. And actually, those first days, right? Those first days, you can
yeah.
even skip some days at the end, right? But
Yeah.
those first days, they're fragile and they're
Right.
just so potent, right, with
Right.
possibility. And so I
Right.
love how you notice the caterpillar thing. It's like you remember it. You're going to remember that forever.
Yeah.
You know, the day I realized I could be grateful for a caterpillar.
Yeah.
That's big stuff. That's life-changing stuff,
Yeah.
right?
No, that's true. That's totally true. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
Yeah. So tell us about your being now. Like you've done
Oh,
this past year, you've done intense work, really. But,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's been 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm much more grateful now, much more positive and optimistic. A big part of the inner journey has been seeing and appreciating. And another thing is like there's levels of seeing,
Mm-hmm.
and there's deepening levels. So I mean, so one of the things I'm very kind of present to now is just seeing how much we're creating our own reality, we're creating our own experience,
Yeah.
rather than kind of just passively experiencing it and then maybe trying to put a positive spin on
Yeah.
something that's actually crappy. Like
Yeah.
it's not good, but we're gonna pretend this bad thing is good and like, well, maybe it'll work out. Or
Right. Right.
but starting to see everything as a gift and as a reality we're creating. And a few things were helpful for me there. It's hard to pinpoint any particular book or work
Mm.
because so many people talk about it. I mean, obviously a huge one is Byron Katie's The Work. I mean,
Uh-huh.
that's huge when you start really questioning and getting some separation from your own thinking. And then
Yeah.
like just because I'm thinking this doesn't mean it's true. And
Yeah.
just like, and actually before that for me, I kind of got into um just kind of mindfulness meditation and just
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
that awareness as a for me, I think was almost a necessary step to getting the most value out of Byron Katie's work. Because then you're like aware of your thoughts instead of identifying like
You
this
have
is
to
the
see
way.
them, right? You
Right,
have to
right.
see that
So
you're having them. Yeah.
right, have to see that you're having them,
Hmm.
and then doing that work to sort of to question them, and it's really seeing like, wait, I'm creating this, and it's not like it's. I mean, even this morning, frankly, I was like not in the best state, and I found this sometimes I'm just like annoyed. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm annoyed and life is bad. And
Uh-huh.
I'm just like that's I've found that often like I can if I sit down and journal, I can access those thoughts. Like if I put them down on paper, like what's going on? Like this
Yeah.
thing is bothering me, that thing's bothering me. And it's like, oh yeah, there's like 7 or 8 things going on right now that if I
Right.
don't put them on paper, it's just sort of like things are
It's vague.
bad. Yeah, it's
Right.
vague and
Bad. Yeah.
it's all scrambled
Yeah.
together. And so doing those, and then I'll sort of like do an abbreviated version of Byron Katie's work on them, and like,
Yeah.
but experiencing a fairly significant shift like quickly, whereas
Yeah.
I just didn't have that tool or even that awareness to be able to do anything with it before because
Yeah.
just this is the way it is. I think this situation is bad, this thing is bad, this person is not the way they should be, and that's bad, and I need to change them maybe, or just
Well, it's
keep away
really
from
when,
them. Yeah, go
right. It
ahead.
really is, when we focus on that, we're really adopting a powerlessness, right?
Right.
Because when we're staying in that mood and like I like to be in all the moods, like yeah, have all the feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
judgment. The point
Yeah.
of, inner work isn't just to be like happy all the time,
Yeah.
but it is to have power, like you said, to create your own reality,
Yeah.
or to at least know that you're doing it, that
Oop,
all of this is originating inside of you,
yeah.
right?
So I'll do, yeah, no, exactly right. Another, I don't know what you call, like, different idea or modalities is sort of like from the three principles thinking,
Mhm. Yeah,
and sometimes those ideas, it's just having awareness of that your thinking is causing your experience, and then sometimes not even doing anything with it. It's like
yeah,
uh, this okayness, like I'm okay not being okay. Right,
yeah,
right. Like I'm just, yeah, I'm kind of annoyed and I'm kind of in a down state and I'm having these thoughts, but
yeah,
they're not true. And if
yeah,
I just chill, so sometimes I will do things such as the work, Byron
mhm,
Katie's work, or
yeah,
try, other things, gratitude or whatever, to try to, if I'm feeling in a down state. And sometimes it's just like I'm okay that, like, I'm not feeling
right,
that great, and it'll pass. So it's not necessarily a problem, and I'm not judging myself for being down. Now, if I'm trying to, like, accomplish something, I need to be more, like, energetic. Yeah, I might actively try to do something, but it's not a
right,
problem to feel bad. Another idea is this awareness, and this is from the three principles, folks, is that, like, the it's like this inverse correlation, maybe it's just correlated, I don't know, but from, like, so when I am in a down state or a negative state,
yeah,
it lets me know that the quality of my thoughts are low and are not to be trusted. I'm not getting good information.
right,
And that's been
right,
really useful, because, like, if you're, tired or stressed or something, you think, like,
yeah,
here's reality. It's This is bad, that's bad, this bad, that's bad. And you realize, you know what, maybe I didn't get enough sleep and I'm getting over the flu, and
yeah.
the quality of my mood will kind of let me know that this information that I'm potentially perceiving as an accurate representation of the world is just
Or
not
even
something.
just it's hard to know, like, to proclaim this is what is accurate, but I
Yeah.
do want to be aware that I'm interpreting everything,
Mm.
and everything I'm interpreting, that interpretation is going through the lens of who I'm being, right?
Right.
Of the
Yeah.
mood that I'm in.
Right.
And there's other ways to look at it that
Right.
maybe in an hour,
Right.
if I check in again, might be
Right.
different. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's one of the things I really loved from learning from JP Morgan and Creator Circle, was just seeing how, just really seeing how, like, we're all creating our reality. And, like, I'd come to him
Mm.
with the challenge I'm dealing with. It's like, here's the problem is this and this, and I need to figure out this.
Yeah.
And just having someone else show you how you're creating that reality, and that how other options do exist. It's like, well, what if, well, you look at it this way, or what if it's not a problem, or what if it's actually an opportunity, or what if, like, and just sort of, he would just kind of just move reality around. We're just like, oh, I thought this was the way it was, but that's one of
Yeah.
an almost infinite amount of ways I can, like, interpret and construct this reality that sometimes is causing the problem, and sometimes even, like, shifting that around to be like, oh yeah, there's not a problem here.
Right.
And
Actually,
sometimes,
everything's fine. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes
Now
it'll give
I
you,
found gratitude in this. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes it gives you more access to, like, a more powerful way to be and to do things. So it's just, but just having that flexibility of, like, coming to JP, it's like, here's the way it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with this. And then it's
Yes.
like, maybe that's not the way it is.
Yes. Or how about it's really, I think, a shift from we have these habitual ways of seeing the world, right? That we learn from our parents or our school
Mhm.
or our culture, whatever, right?
Yeah.
And we really believe that it's truth. Like, this is how you do this. This is how you
Mhm.
figure this out. And we
Mhm.
all have that, as much as we want to think that we're flexible or we're
Yeah.
evolved, or right, like, or
Yeah.
smart, or we all have set schemas that
Yeah.
we use with which to look at the world.
Right.
And so JP in particular um, is so amazing at expanding the schemas exponentially, right?
Right.
Let's just exponentially expand, how we look at the situation, which usually means zooming out, right?
Mhm.
Zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, so we
Yeah.
can see more layers and we can see how we created. It's so valuable to see the schema that you use to look at everything with.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
oh, I could look at, I could shift a word in there. I could um drop it all together, right?
Yeah,
And that isn't that powerful. That's
yeah,
more important than the results you create out in the world, right?
yeah,
Like the power, if
yeah,
you to really just to accomplish what you want, whether it's to change your mood, whether it's to stay in your mood, whether it's right to shift your
yeah,
situation, whether it's to stay, it's like this freedom. It's just increased freedom
yeah,
to create in the world.
yes, yes.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about like self-acceptance, like
Mm,
self-love.
yeah,
How has that shifted for you?
yeah. You know, I think having a lack of self acceptance or self love, I think it's only been on my radar for like a year and a half.
Mhm.
Like it just wasn't something I was aware of. I mean, at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
And what, let's see, I was reading a book or listening to a book. Oh, I want to say her name is Christina Neff.
Mhm.
I think it's Neff. I'm not sure her first name, but something about self compassion or something. I don't remember. But she had a journaling exercise in there, and I forget what it was, but it was like the prompt was, I think it was like describe yourself or how you would describe yourself to another person or something like that. And I I forget the purpose of the exercise. It wasn't even a focus on like self judgment, but it was just
Yeah.
like I'm like this. Like I'm not too good at this. I wish I was better at that. Like I don't do this enough. I don't do that enough. Like it was very,
Mhm.
and I was like,
Critical.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
like super critical. And I
Yeah.
was like, wait, that's,
That's
I mean,
my identity.
yeah, I
Yeah.
was being like honest, like that's, but I realized like, holy cow, like this is what I think. Like this is not
This is how I
ideal.
talk to myself,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, yeah. That's how I
Yeah.
talk to myself. It's just sort of this, I think like, oh, like not doing enough or like should, like, oh, you should be
Yeah.
doing more of this, you should be doing that. Like, not like,
Yeah.
I think some people can struggle with like very vicious like self beat downs, like, and
Hmm.
I've never had that, and I have compassion for people that do, because some people do struggle with that. For me it's never
Yeah.
been that. It's more like
Yeah.
you need to do more, you need to like, you're not doing enough, like you got to do more of this, more of that. It's sort of like a more
Yeah.
and more and more, never quite enough. Yeah, and just sort of seeing that on paper is like, that's not, that can't be good. Like that's
I don't want to
not.
do that anymore, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so, and I don't know what I did with it. I don't know if I did too much after that. It's like, okay, that's good to know. And just sort of had more awareness. And then I think really just starting Creator Circle with JP Morgan about a year ago. Early into that, he referenced a book by Sherry Huber, who was kind of like a Buddhist teacher, a
There's nothing
meditation
wrong with
teacher.
you. I think I have
Yeah,
it
I
right
think
here.
that's it. I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I found it and
Uh-huh.
I read it and I was like, oh, that's really like, that's really good. And then JP, I mean, JP's, I think I mean, he says it all over his videos, so it's not like I'm letting out some secret, but like,
Yeah.
people come to him to make money,
Yeah.
like, and they do, but like, they come to him to make money, but what they get in the end is like this self-love and like
Yeah.
more self-acceptance and self-compassion. Um, so I think I learned that from JP in Creator Circle. I think, coming to him with my own struggles or challenges, and just seeing him, yeah, like, I'd be judging myself, like I need to do more of this, right? Like I'm not doing this right or that right. It's like, hey, like take it
Let's
easy.
let up on you first.
Take it
Yeah.
easy. And I think also just the idea of like innocence, right? Like people are trying to do the best they can with what they can see. And people, like, includes me. Like
Right.
I may not like the results I'm getting in this or that area of my life, but like, have I ever not been doing the very best I could do based on what
Yes.
I know and can see at the time? It's like, no, I'm pretty much always doing the best I can. I mean, like now
Yeah.
looking back with more tools and more knowledge, be like, okay, that wasn't a very effective way to be or thing to
Right.
do, but like, but I can see clearly at the time, like, yeah, I was genuinely doing the best I could with what I could see, and with who I was at the time. So um yeah, so I think I'd say, I mean, I guess I have a more like gentle relationship with myself, right? It's more
Yeah.
like, hey, it's
Yeah.
okay. You're doing the best you can. Especially when there's temptations to like compare or contrast with others. Like it's
Yes.
just like,
Yes.
it's okay. Like they've had a different experience, different life path, different interests, and and different struggles too than I have.
And,
So it's like
we don't even know what's going on with people,
you don't know.
right? I
Yeah.
have someone that I've been following for a long time, and someone who really just seems like they've just hit the ball out of the park. You know, they have their, huge successful business and their husband and 4 kids, and they just bought this multi-million-dollar farm, and it's just
Hmm.
like dream life, And I just got an email, and she shares about herself in her business emails that she's getting a divorce. And
Hmm.
I have like, no judgment either way, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have, you know,
Yeah.
ever predicted that. Not that I
Yeah.
know her at all, right? But we make a story up in our head about people,
Yeah.
and then we compare ourselves to them like they have it figured out more than we
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah. I have this theory. It's not very well developed. It's just sort of like a
oh,
half
good.
baked
Let's
idea.
develop it.
No,
Let's
no, but just like yeah. I mean, I guess yeah. I don't know. Maybe there's like 4 or 5 different. Like I feel like everyone is struggling like with something. Maybe like
yes,
okay, like health and fitness or weight or finances or relationship or something. I mean, I've not
something.
encountered someone who's like not. I mean, I don't know what the categories are, but maybe there's 10 of them, right? And so
Yeah.
you're looking
Yes.
at them like, wow, they're making like all this money or they've got this but like but they're struggling in their relationship
Yeah.
or they've got an amazing relationship and they're struggling to pay. Like there's in my
Yeah.
opinion there's always something, and it's not like ever to put anyone down, but it's just like
No.
the way you're looking up at people and thinking like they're so amazing. It's like, and they might be amazing in those areas in which you see their
Everybody
value.
is amazing, right?
Yeah.
And everybody struggles. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
we create unnecessarily create that distance,
Hmm.
between us, where it's like they've got everything figured out and they're like this demigod or a god. And it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, well, she's got, I don't know, like secret struggles in this or that area that
Right.
you have no
Right.
idea about.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
I'm sort of more aware of that, just seeing like very successful people like struggling in this or that area of their lives, or successful in some areas and truly successful, and then not so successful in others. And I think that's just true of humanity. So
Exactly. Like it's it's so wonderful when you can just see everybody
yeah,
as an equal, right? Because that's what
yeah,
starts to happen when we're like, oh, everybody has problems,
yeah,
right? We're like,
yeah,
oh, we're all the same. That's
yeah,
cool. you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
It's so comforting. And we can, there's no like ultimate way to prove any of like our thoughts or theories being right or wrong. There's no like truth written that falls from the sky,
yeah,
right? And so we can tell whatever story, you know, helps us, serves us.
yeah,
And I used to think like, no, we gotta find the truth. And now I'm
mm,
like, well, that doesn't really work, you know?
yeah,
How about we just see the best in people, see people's
yeah,
greatness,
yeah,
and including ourselves,
yeah.
like you said. Yeah. So you mentioned the past, and this is something I worked a lot on this year too.
Mm.
How has how you see your past changed because of the work that you've done?
Oh man, it's changed so much. Like it's
Hmm.
and one thing I'm really it's well, first of all, it's changed so much. Like I don't have the same past I used to. And the
Yeah.
past is constantly changing in light of our present and our future. And yeah, so I've kind of recreated my past, just different relationships and different like life events and things that I sort of characterized as bad.
Yeah.
Like this should not have happened. Like
Wrong.
this was
Right.
not good. As good.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's been it's been pretty amazing. And another idea, I haven't done much with this yet, but I'm really excited about this idea. In the Ultimate Coach Facebook group, a guy, Trevor, I think he does sales out of New York. Not
Hmm.
even really connected with him, but he had this post on, I think it was on the past, where he talked
Yeah.
about he's being coached by a guy who challenged him. He's like, so he had moved his past from like my dad didn't love me to like my dad did the best he could.
Yeah.
Something like he loved me the best
Yeah.
he could.
Right.
And then, but he was challenged then by his coach. It's like, no, that's not enough. Go back. I mean,
Keep
I'm
going.
paraphrasing, like go
Right.
back and show me with facts and data how it was actually awesome. Like how your dad
Uh-huh.
was like an awesome dad. And it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, that sort of takes things to a whole new level. And so I think for different areas of my past, I've moved from like, that wasn't good or that was unfortunate to like, it was good, but kind of like a week good. Like it
A
was,
week good. Like
it
a,
was good.
it's fine.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, just like it's good, which is, I mean, maybe
Uh-huh.
much better than bad, but not like
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm excited about trying to apply that. I like the facts and data. It's like, no. Because again, we can prove almost any story or
Right.
theory. So it's like, no,
Right.
go back and like see specifically why.
Evidence.
Not
Find
just
the
like a,
evidence.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I haven't done that yet, but I'm excited as like my next step as another thing, regarding the past. I've had a different idea, a different take, and I've become present to it like occasionally,
Mhm.
but I don't hold it constantly. It's like these different parts of the past that I have judged as bad,
Yeah.
or like that was unfortunate, or I wish that didn't happen, or I wish I didn't do that, or whatever. I think still holding them in judgment as like, okay, I can put a good spin on it, but like maybe it
Yeah.
wasn't that good. But then realizing like, wait, everything like I am now and everything I have like would not have happened or would
Mhm.
not be here. Sorry, would not be here now
Yeah.
had I not made that decision and
Yeah.
gone in that direction for a couple of years. Like I wouldn't have met my wife. She would have missed in terms of school, and like
Yeah.
everything like I have now is a result of those, which is great. Is a
Yeah.
result of the past, which sometimes I'm judging and like rejecting as like bad. And it's kind of like this incoherence.
Yeah.
And I haven't fully worked it through, but I'm seeing that like, whoa, that's an area I can improve in and make myself just happier, better,
Yeah.
really.
And
So
I think self-love isn't like I like to look at love as like an action,
mm,
not not like a preference. Like
mm,
sometimes we say love is in like really strong
yeah,
like I like that so much that I love it. But when we look at love as an action, there's a difference between loving your past like you would have picked that for yourself.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? Like maybe I
yeah,
wouldn't have designed that for a
mm,
person, but because it's mine and because I went through it, I'm going to love it
yeah,
action wise, right? Like you said,
yeah,
like I'm going to collect the evidence on how that thing helped me, right?
right,
I just turned my grandfather took his own life when I was like 14,
mm,
and I've recently turned that or realized it's not even I didn't have to do anything differently. I realized that that was a huge turning point in my life for the good, right? I woke up to like, oh, this can just be over any minute, right? That was the first person
yeah,
I was close to that died.
mm,
And so and I wasn't aware of that until I looked, you
mm,
know. So I love the work that you're doing looking back, and I
yeah,
can relate, right, to
yeah,
the stuff like that was awful. That was so bad. And and then like, oh wait, I am literally who I am, right? I take no
right,
days for granted because
right,
of that day when I was 14 years old. Thanks, Pop Up,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Yeah, that's good stuff. So, um, the last thing I want to talk about is a live you did in another group that we're in about because it piqued my interest about your son who's 4. When my son's 5, I think they're pretty similar ages.
mhm,
Um, who has started you're hearing how judgments develop,
yeah, right.
right? Can you tell us a little bit about that story?
Yeah, sure. So I have a 4-year-old son. He's in preschool a couple days a week. Well, actually, so I didn't tell this part in the Facebook Live because I didn't want it to
Oh,
go too
good, a new
long. But
thing.
like, well, no, like I think it was last Saturday or a couple Saturdays ago. So I've got a 10-year-old son,
Yeah.
and my 10-year-old son's friends to my 4-year-old are like celebrity rock
Oh
stars.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
that's in
like,
my house too. I have
okay,
an almost 9-year-old son. Same thing.
okay, I
Yeah.
guess it's so. My 10-year-old son's friend Tristan was coming over just to hang out with my 10-year-old, and my 4-year-old was like, I need to change my shirt. Like I need to get into like the shirts like the cool kids wear. I'm like, what? He's like,
What?
Tristan's coming over. He needed to change his shirt.
You
So
can't see me
yeah,
like
like
this.
he needed to get dressed up for Tristan. And so I I helped him get into the shirt he wanted to get into. I don't know what made it special in
What's
his mind,
cool or
but it was
yeah.
like the cool kid shirt. And then he brought
Yeah.
up this concept of like the cool kids again
Yeah.
a few days later. So I was like, interesting. And I was like, hey, Joshy,
Mhm.
I would think that you're one of the cool kids. He's like, oh, I'm not one of the cool kids. I'm like, oh, well, like, yeah.
Here we
I was
go.
like, are you
Yeah,
sure, buddy?
identity. Yeah.
He's like, yeah. So I didn't want to like press him too hard because I could tell he was a
Yeah.
little self-conscious. Like, well, wait, did I like say something
Say
wrong? Like,
something.
so
Mhm.
later it's like, hey, like I thought you'd be one of the cool kids. He's like, no. I'm like, well, who are the cool kids? And he's kind of self-conscious. I eventually got out. So the cool kids, if you want to know, for
Yeah.
Creative Castle here in Anthem, Arizona, for the preschoolers,
Mhm.
Sammy and Zion are the cool kids.
Oh.
And I'm not
Uh-huh.
sure, like I'm not sure what makes him cool. It was something about the way they play with action figures and magnets.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
but what really jumped out at me is well, first of all, these are 4-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
They're innocent. They're playing with blocks and running around and learning their letters. So
Yeah.
like it's different like in high school, like the cool kids are this way or that way, and there's sort of
Yeah.
can be different like cliques where it's like insiders, outsiders. This is not the way. They're just 4-year-olds. But like
Yeah.
somehow my son decided that these kids are different
Yeah.
and better in some way. They're the
He
cool kids.
admires them in some way. Right.
He admires them in
Yeah.
some way, and that he's not one of them. And when I was trying to convince him, like, hey, I think you're pretty cool, buddy. Like, I think you'd be one of the cool kids. How certain he was that he
Yeah.
was not one of the cool kids, and how laughable it was to him that
Yeah.
I was suggesting he
Yeah.
is one of the cool kids. It's just like that. I don't know. It was like very obvious. It was like dad's being ridiculous. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow. For me, it was just fascinating. I mean, I don't know why. I guess I wouldn't really. Maybe it's like seeing like
You're
a clear
watching it
judgment.
happen, right? Because when
Yeah,
you were 4, you were doing the same thing. And when I
yeah,
was 4, I was doing the same
yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
was just like fascinating, and just seeing like there's no real difference between these kids. Like there's just like it's just created in my son's mind that like these
Right.
kids are better and different, and I am somehow less than, and I can dress like them, get the cool kid
Yeah.
shirt on, but I will not be a cool kid. And it was just amazing. And I liked your comment on my post about it's like, yeah, we're all kids, just like playing with blocks. But like
Still
it's like,
just,
oh well, they've got the position or the house or the car or like
yeah.
whatever. Like they are different and better, and I am other and less than. And we do this to
Yeah.
ourselves, and it's self-violence in a way, but also like the 4-year-old, it's innocent. Like we're trying to figure out the world. We're just trying to like operate, and it's not.
We're
I don't
playing
think.
in the story we've been given, right? Because he
Yeah.
didn't make up the concept of being cool. He
Right.
heard that, right? He
Right.
didn't like, because he couldn't have, because I know about it and you know about it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
we all do that. We come into a world that has concepts and we, insert ourselves somewhere in there,
Yeah.
based on whatever evidence. And it's so wild. I do the same thing. I watch my kids uh do the things that I'm like, I'm undoing that now. Like, just
Yeah.
don't do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my strategy behind all of it is to show them how fake every
Mm,
structure is.
mm,
You know, that's not real. That's not real. That's not real. It's all made
yeah.
up. And
Yeah.
they don't always appreciate it. They want there to be a story,
Mm, mm,
right? It's like when my kids want there to be a Santa Claus, even though they've realized that,
mm,
whatever. They're like, let's still play that,
mm,
you know?
mm.
And I see that happening in grown-ups, right?
Yeah.
Like we're buying into it. We're
Yeah.
saying, I'm going to play this game about who's the prettiest and who's the
Yeah.
richest and how it's important. And I'm fascinated how that creates meaning in our lives. And it's like we're choosing to have meaning,
Mm,
right? Even if it's something that doesn't make us feel so good,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Like having meaning, that's what I love about humans, or I'm fascinated with that about humans, is that like we choose meaning every time, and belonging to a group means playing their game,
Mm,
right? So belonging to preschool means living the narrative of
mm,
there being cool kids and those being them.
yeah.
It's funny. It's
Yeah.
like it feels like we're dissing ourselves, but it also gives us belonging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's true. Yeah. I mean, you're part of the fitting into the narrative. Yeah. And I'm, One thing I sort of realized the past few months or so through kind of, I mean, JP or Werner Erhard stuff is just like, I think it's unavoidable for us to make meaning. Like that's unavoidable.
Yeah, yeah,
But like,
we're gonna do it. Yeah,
but on the sort of the framework or hooks of like what actually happened factually, like this
mhm,
event, that event, like these things happened in the world physically, like
yeah,
these words were said, this action was taken, like the amount of interpretations we can hang on the framework or of those points is nearly infinite. But like we'll choose whatever comes to us, and it
yes.
does fit the facts, so we think
Mm,
that's the reality. But like a
mm.
million other interpretations could fit the facts and give us meaning, and some are just more because I when I first encountered the idea of like you know you know usefulness over truth sort of
Yeah,
thing, I was like, well,
yeah,
I don't want to like lie, like
right,
it seems
right.
like that's not true. Like I can make up a happy
Yeah, 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 yeah.
lie that things were great, but like part of me is going to know it's not true, and then realizing um that's just kind of the way it is, and like facts
Yeah, yeah.
happen, like things happen, but then like our like one story is probably not more true than another, but some are going to give you access to more power and possibility and
Yeah.
happiness, and some won't. And even if they both fit the facts, the actual physical things that happen in the world. So that's something I forget all the time.
That's the big realization, when you switch from duality to non-duality, or it's not a switch, it's a expansion into understanding both,
Mhm.
right? Because they're both real, I guess, right? You have
Yeah,
to have non-duality, I mean duality to have non-duality. But it's always both and,
yeah,
right? So like I sometimes struggle to like write a Facebook post because I write it and then I realize that I could write the exact opposite and believe it equally,
yeah,
right? Like, don't
yeah.
think this, and then it's like, but, and that feels good in a certain way, but I could write the exact opposite and I'm not, and so that's actually the work, right? Is to take down
Mm,
all, to be able to live in the duality, to see the duality that there is fat and thin and tall and short and smart and dumb, and to live in the non-duality where we're all the same,
mhm.
right? And it's kind of a mind fuck, but I like
Yeah,
living there. That's
yeah,
what that's what that's where happiness is, man. That's where you can let go of uh yeah, playing a game that you didn't make up kind of thing
yeah,
and start making up your own.
yeah,
Where freedom is. Yeah.
yeah.
So, let's close out with if you were going to look back on your year of coaching,
Mm.
like what's the thing that you're taking with you that you would wish for everyone to have? Right? If you could spread it all over the world, what's that thing?
Mm. I, I kind of think what we were just talking about a little bit,
Mm,
and like kind of what JP helped me really see is just, the way we perceive the world or construct the world that we're living in, and we're trying to solve these problems within this world that is the
mm,
truth in our perspective.
mm.
Um, there's so many other perspectives in which your problem and challenge kind of disappears or solves itself, or you can
Yeah.
solve it more easily. But you need to be able to have this distance between like the way I originally think it is,
Yeah.
and then being able to like, well, that's the way I perceive it. That's the context I'm constructing. But
Yeah.
there's other
Yeah.
more powerful ways, and that my initial way I think it is, or even feel it is, like
Yeah.
deeply feel like this is the truth,
Yeah.
and they're not doing it right, and my boss needs to do this, and the government and the economy or whatever. It's like, well, maybe that's not the way it is. But it's hard initially to have that like flexibility and that distance because it
Yeah.
feels so true. And
Yeah.
like if
And you do lose your belonging a little bit, right? When you do that,
mm, yeah,
don't you? Right? When
yeah,
you drop the story that
yeah,
everyone around you is living in,
yes,
you kind of lose, you're not quite a member. It feels like you're not quite a member of the club anymore, right?
yeah,
Well, I don't want to fight about that anymore. I want to zoom out and,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
let
No,
that
it's
one
funny.
go.
Like even yeah, just seeing, I mean, even because even in this past year, just like shifting, like without any effort, just like shifting, formerly having like very kind of strong political views.
Yeah.
And it's not that I don't even necessarily disagree with those opinions, but it's like it doesn't, it's like, yeah, people are gonna say all sorts of different things. And that's,
Yeah.
but sort of like the sense of like, that's just the way it is. Like, of course they're gonna say, like, it's just kind of
Right.
human
When you can see
beings.
the game, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
you're
It's not
like,
that I don't have
oh,
opinions. It's just like, I'm not going to
I'm not
argue or
gonna.
fight about it. I'm not going to invest any energy in it. Like if it's time to vote, I'll vote, but I'm not going to like be like angry that the world isn't the way I feel it should be, or that someone said something I disagree with. It's just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you're naming the shift from victim to creator because the victim looks around and is like, the game is like this, and I'm trying my hardest, and I can't get it, and nothing's
Yeah.
ever changing, and it's that stress of
Yeah.
this is how it is, and I'm doing it. And creator is focused on creating something new, and so
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, that game's going on, but me playing that game isn't gonna isn't there's no path in that game to
Yeah.
create the new thing,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So if I'm going to create, if I'm going to enact change in the world, it's going to be outside of that game,
Right. Yeah.
creating something new.
Yeah.
And that how freeing is that? That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I wish that for the world too. Oh my goodness, that was a really cool. Yeah, that was a really cool wish for the world. Well, thanks so much for an
Yeah. Thanks,
awesome
Heather.
conversation.
Yeah. It's great to catch up.
Yeah. And yeah, let's do this again sometime for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk about good things.
All right. All
All right, see ya.
right. Take care. Bye.